Heather. The song is Kiss Mama, Kiss Papa, QRS 2150, if you're into piano rolls. You know, the interesting thing about this one in particular is that on the other side of the box, the label's upside down, so someone at the factory might have messed up and then got a little frustrated and just slapped the other one on the other side. Okay. Next up, I have a kind of a program going here, up on top of the piano. All these are different rolls. The next one I got to play is Daddy Long Legs. This is one of the first rolls I ever got, and it's a pretty fun waltz, in my opinion. I know waltzes aren't the most sought after kinds of rolls these days, but I like this one in particular. Next up is, this was a gift from a friend. Do I have When the Saints Go Marching In? Saints Go Marching In. Hold on, I think I may have seen that title. Give me one moment, my friend. When the Saints. Oh boy. There's a, I'm not sure. I don't think I have it, actually. Well, if I do, it's probably buried somewhere. I'll look more after the stream, so maybe next time I can find it. Okay, here, Russell. I got it. All right. This is a very fun march. It's got the neat box up there. NC4, QRS 33400. You need a lot of playing capacity to play this roll properly. Spot in here, unfortunately. Very nice roll. And of course, you'd never be able to get that kind of music out of a piano without the player mechanism, or 3 people to play the piano. But most people are not going to bunch up to play these kinds of songs very often, so I'd rather go with the piano roll. Alright, now we're getting into some of my British rolls I just got recently. This is a Melotto roll. It's the Wedding of the Painted Doll. It says played by Pauline Alpert, but I've also heard that this was played by Frank Milne, and then just they put Alpert's name on it. I know she was a good pianist, it's just confusing stuff sometimes. This was Melotto was basically Aeolian's British version of Melody, except that the bridging is a lot heavier in these. This is also the same arrangement on the duo art roll. I also posted a video on my channel of this same arrangement being played on a restored Steinway Duo reproducing piano. So you can, if you want, you can go listen to the expression coded on the roll instead of what I'm adding in here. Alright, here's another Meloto roll that I found quite enjoyable. It's called Home. Meloto, what's the number? 38713. Okay. excellent arrangement. Next up, another awesome 1920s song, Blue Skies, QRS Q122. This is a recut of the original Imperial roll. I did post this one before, but I thought I'd play it again because it's a pretty good one. Next up, we have rather rare piano roll. It's Ragtime Oriole by James Scott. It's an original copy, but instead of being made by Aeolian or any other American make, it's actually British. It's British. It's made by Kastner and Co. Kastner. I'm not really familiar with these companies. Some of the British ones, I mean, you hardly ever see any of it over here, but I managed to get a few of these British rolls at a reasonable price. So I gotta make sure this one tracks right. Some of these track a little differently than other rolls. Maybe it's because they've been sitting around for decades and not doing anything. They're kind of annoying sometimes. Most of the time I can get them to play the way they should. Alright. Most of them have these really fancy leaders on them that are made of like cardstock or something. Alright. Oh yeah, and for those of you who want the roll number, it's 84024. Yes, I'm also going by the indicated tempo on the roll, which might seem a little fast for some people. Very nice arrangement. Again, I picked most of these beforehand because I know they're good. I think last stream I did a few that I'd never played before, and some of them had damage, and it wasn't too good. Or no, that was a stream before that, I think. Yeah. Thank you, Just My Old Piano. It is quite a lovely song. All right. More weird stuff from the British rolls. The marriage market selections. The roll open. Oh, wait. Oh, I'm sorry. Wrong one. Wrong roll. I don't think I was looking for, wait. I was looking for this roll, actually. So, here's the roll I left the box. I had to go get something. Sorry. So, the Miss Hook of Holland selections. That I mixed the two boxes up. Okay. Some of these rolls get really long. They take quite a while too. problem with some of these ridiculously long rolls is that the air motor has so much paper to pull along on the take-up spool, and then just to get that roll to move, I had to have the tempo almost all the way up. But well, I'm excited to see that 8-minute long roll, and yeah, there is. Yeah, you have to concentrate on. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it. All right. Yeah, but these leaders, you know, you have to tighten these somewhat so they don't get, if they end up in a humid place, they don't get destroyed by the humidity. This leader, I don't know what it's made of. It's like, it's really tough though. And then the box opens up like that, and it goes in there. Neat. Alright, we're going to do some classical music next. Oh my goodness, Frederick Chopin. I hope you... Oh my gosh, I got the wrong roll again. The riddle roll too. Dang it, man. I thought I had... Okay. Chopin. Chopin himself. Okay. What about this one? I'm sure you'll enjoy it. Okay. Nocturne, Opus 15, number 2. Player piano roll. A lot of people usually think of classical music on player pianos as just a kind of stupid thing to do because there's no dynamics and it'll sound horrible and mechanical. Well, I'm about to show you the exact opposite of that because, well, you can do plenty of expressing with a piano roll. You just have to know what you're doing. And plus, the instructions are on the roll anyways. I've only heard this piece of music 3 or 4 times in my life, but I can express it, I guess, fairly decent in my opinion. you can't tell me that wasn't musical. I mean, I play piano, I'm a pianist, but I'm not a master pianist, but in my opinion, that sounded pretty good. Especially for a piano roll. Okay. Oh, I'm only at 50 minutes. I'm aiming for like an hour to an hour and 20 minutes, so I'm gonna go, I got one more after this one. Dinner music. Now, it's not boring, trust me. This is an absolutely fabulous roll. It's an 88 note thematist version of an Ampico roll. Dinner music number 14. There's, how many songs are on here? There's 6, but here, I'll give you a closer look at the label. You can read them. I'd like to find the whole versions of some of these songs, so they're just awesome. But this is one of the nicest rolls I have in my collection. It's been played plenty of times, but it hasn't fallen apart yet, so I'm still happy with it. That roll scares me sometimes because it binds really tightly to the left edge. But yeah, it's held up so far, so I don't play it too much though because I want it to last. Alright, I got one more roll to play. Well, thank you for watching, Mr. Chopin. Okay, one more I want to do. I'm gonna put this away, of course. It's over in the closet. 1 second. All right. Here's it was a very, very fun roll. Not many copies around either. Shepherd's Hay by Perry Granger. Granger. Granger, I'm pretty sure his first name is Perry. But anyway, it's a player piano test. So it's meant to just send notes everywhere. Here we go. And that concludes the 8th player piano livestream. That is an insane roll. I mean, this roll sat in the box for decades and decades. If it had been anywhere else, it would have been completely trashed. Somebody would have played the heck out of it, and I'm sure it would be, like, half of it would probably be missing. I mean, they put this awful tape on the front, but I guess that's better than it being completely destroyed. It's still perfectly played, so I'm happy with it. So, thank you everyone for watching. I have to go now. Have a wonderful Friday evening. Bye.